On.
Hello, Mike Kako, and good morning, everyone, and mahalo for joining us today online. I hope you and your ohana are doing well and staying dry. I was watching the news last night, and just what's happening out in the North Shore. I was just amazed. Just so, please stay safe out there and everywhere. So, due to the thunderstorms and the unstable weather conditions today, and after hearing from Kapolei High School, where we normally have our meetings, that the campus may be closed and that the power outages are possible, we made the decision just to switch to Zoom only. So, for those who may not know me, I'm State Senator Mike Gabbard. I represent District 21, Kapolei, Makakilo, Kalailoa, Honokai and also portions of Fernandez Village, Eva, and Kolina. And I've had the privilege of serving in the State Senate since I was elected in 2006. And this is my 10th year as the chair of the Agriculture and Environment Committee. I also serve as the vice chair of Judiciary and the Government Operations committees. Prior to the Senate, I served for 2 years on the Honolulu City Council representing the West Side. And so let me just do a couple of quick housekeeping items. These community meetings I call them Listen Story, because my goal is to create space for you to focus on hearing your concerns, your ideas, your feedback about what's happening in our district and in our state. So we begin promptly at 9 a.m. and end promptly at 10. And if we don't get to your question today, please reach out to my office, and we'll always follow up with when you contact us. So today I'm joined by my two members of my team on Zoom. Meg Turner, she's my office manager. Um, Morning, Meg. She's been with me for 12 years and does her best to keep everything moving smoothly. She's running the Zoom today and making sure our online participants are taken care of. And then Melanie June, she serves as my community liaison. She's been with me for about 2 years now, and Mel is running the slideshow. As many of you know, the 2026 legislative session is underway and will end on May 8th. And as always, there are thousands of bills that are introduced, but only a fraction make it all the way through the process into becoming a statute, or AKA a law. Um, but early conversations matter. That's what I was saying before, is that your input helps shape legislation, budget priorities, and long-term planning. So even if a measure doesn't move immediately, sometimes, as I tell folks, it takes 2 or 3 years for good bills to pass into law. So today we're shifting gears a bit and focusing on something many families here on the West Side care deeply about, and that's recreation and opportunities for our youth and community. So we're fortunate to have Ron Romano joining us this morning. Ron serves as the Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer of the United States Tennis Association Hawaiʻi Pacific Section. And the USTA Hawaiʻi Pacific Section supports tennis programs and facilities across Hawaii and the Pacific region, helping grow the sport through youth programs, community events, and tournaments. Ron has spent many years working to expand access to tennis and develop facilities that support youth athletics, community recreation, and also regional competitions. And today he'll be sharing updates about a new USTA tennis facility being planned for the West Side. Kind of exciting. And what that could mean for our community, including opportunities for youth sports, tournaments, and also expanded recreational access. So, projects like this, they're important for West Oahu as our communities, they continue to grow, and we look at ways to expand parks, recreation, and opportunities for our families. So we are recording today's meeting, and the video will be available on YouTube. And if you think of any additional questions afterward, please email my office at sendgabbard@capital.hawaii.gov. That's capital with an O. And then we'll follow up. Let's see what else. Full disclosure, I was the head tennis pro out at Kuilima Hyatt Resort, now known as Turtle Bay Hilton on the North Shore, way back in 1977. Yeah. And I'm currently the president of the Kalailoa Tennis Association. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Ron Romano, and please join me in welcoming him this morning. Welcome, Ron. Aloha.
Mike, thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Um, I couldn't have given a better introduction, so thank you very much.
Sure.
You really summed up things. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. We're very excited about this new tennis facility out in Eva Beach. I don't know if Sunny Rosario's on the call. She's with Gentry. We have worked very closely with Gentry Homes. They had this 7 acre property in Eva Beach adjacent to Holomua Elementary School. And in 2024, we acquired the title to the land. And then in 2025, we got a conditional use permit from City and County Department of Planning and Permitting. So it's been maybe about a 5 year project that we're finally coming to, not the end, but coming to at least groundbreaking, hopefully this year. We're optimistic. Um, so it's a tennis and education center. We really hope that it's going to be more than tennis, that it's going to be a after school community center for kids. In some of our research, we've found that there are 22 schools in the Eva Beach, Kapolei, um, Waipahu area. So we've got a lot of kids that we can serve in that area and a lot of families. So Melanie, if I could ask you to go to the next slide, that would be great. So about the project, it's called the Campus. It's a tennis and education center. As I mentioned, we hope it's going to be an after-school community center for kids. We will also serve adults. One of the questions I get all the time, is it a private club? No, it will be open to the public. And we'll offer a variety of programs in addition to tennis. Um, we have two phases. Phase one, we've got 8 tennis courts, and I'll show what it looks like. Phase two, we're looking at some additional courts and hopefully a basketball, volleyball court, as well as some green space that we could hold different kinds of activities on. Um, Melanie, if I could ask you the next slide. So I kind of mentioned this already. Um, yeah, actually, I did mention this already, so we can go to the next slide. So this is what it would look like. Um, to the left is Holomua Elementary School. So we're looking at 8 tennis courts, a large parking lot, a small clubhouse, and then we've got a lot of green area in the upper right-hand corner, which could be more tennis courts or could be, some kind of multi-purpose space for different activities. Um, we have submitted all of the detailed construction plans to the city by the end of November, so we're just waiting for approvals. We're getting lots of questions and comments from the city, but it's moving along quite well. So we're just keeping our fingers crossed that it won't take 1 or 2 years. And let's see, next slide. And as Mike gave the best introduction that of anybody, I appreciate that, Mike. So we are the United States Tennis Association. We are a nonprofit. We're a 501(c)(3), and our mission is growing tennis to inspire healthier people and communities everywhere. And we do, as Mike said, we do cover all of the Hawaiian Islands, American Samoa, Guam, and the Northern Marianas. And we are a branch of the National USTA, which was founded in 1897 and owns and operates the US Open in Flushing Meadows, New York. And next slide, please. Just to give you an idea, I hear this all the time. Mike, you play tennis. I don't know if you play pickleball, but I hear this all the time. Pickleball is the fastest growing sport. It is, but and then the tag on to that from the pickleball community is, and tennis is dying. Tennis is not dying. This slide. Actually, we just had a an industry survey of 120 sports, and tennis now in 2026 increased to 27 million players across the United States. 27 million players. Pickleball, I think, has 24 million players, nationwide. So tennis is still growing. Here in Hawaii, we just this report just reported that in the last 3 years, tennis has grown 24%. So 24% in Hawaii, roughly about 10% of the population plays tennis. So tennis is actually growing. I'll even be as bold to say tennis is booming, and we're not in competition with pickleball. We actually manage a couple of tennis facilities, and we offer pickleball at the tennis facilities. We have pickleball lessons, pickleball classes, and we run pickleball tournaments. In January, we ran a pickleball tournament with 525 players, which was quite amazing. But tennis is growing. Um, and I think we have one more slide. Okay, I just said that, and maybe one more after this. Yeah, and that's just a little, just kind of a couple schematics of what the tennis clubhouse will look like and what the courts will look like. So, Mike, that's about it, but I certainly would like to entertain any questions or comments. We're very excited about getting this up and running. I think if we were to pick any location, West Oahu is the best location because we don't really have much in terms of tennis offerings out there. So we're very excited about the project and really appreciate you having me on to talk about it with everybody.
No, I really appreciate it, Ron. And so, if we get any questions from any of the participants, Meg, any questions from participants?
Not seeing any, boss.
Okay, if not, then if we hear back from anyone, we'll definitely pass them on to you, Ron. But thank you so much for all the work you're doing. Oh, somebody's got their hand up. Okay, who is that? Go ahead.
Susan.
Aloha, Senator and Ron. I guess the question I have as a retired high school English teacher, how are the teams in the high school in the west side of the west side of the island? Have the high schools been approached? Do they have teams? I don't know at this point. I'm sorry, I'm so uninformed.
It's a good question, Susan. So about 6 months ago, we hired a new full-time staff position who is, well, she is responsible for schools tennis. So what she will do is she will contact the school and arrange a time when she could go in and introduce tennis. She'll actually teach PE classes or whatever time they have back to back to back to back, and then she'll train either the PE teacher or the after school providers, and then we will provide a tennis package full of rackets, balls, portable nets, and then ask them to continue. So we're just starting to reach out. We just met with Holomua School about 2 weeks ago, and so our plan is to reach all 22 schools and see how we can serve either there's schools that have tennis or there's schools that don't have tennis. So it's a really good question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Yeah, I'm excited about this. And just, as a former high school English teacher and just getting our young people involved, right? And that's what a great opportunity. Just expanding these wonderful programs. Actually, living on the west side since 2004, we used to be townies, but just seeing the quote unquote second city develop and it's just wonderful being a part of this community and just to have this as an addition. I'm really stoked.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.
Okay, so we'll get back to you if we hear. Let's see. Okay. All right. Thanks again, Ron. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And let's see. Okay, so I'm going to take a few minutes.
Lee Cobian said this is really awesome.
Yep. Thank you, Lee, for weighing in. So I'm going to take a few minutes now to share some community updates before we open things up for general questions and discussion. Excuse me. First of all, okay, Mel. So if you live in Makakilo, uh, it's an issue people have been wondering about for years. And you know, Makakilo is basically one way in, one way out. And that's not okay for traffic. It's not okay for safety. Think about what we saw in Lahaina. But this is about making sure that families have a way to get out. Each of the 25 state Senate districts, there's about 56,000 people. You'll get 1.4 million residents in Hawaii, divide that by 25, you come up with about 56,000 who live in each Senate district. So Makakilo has about 20,000 residents. So as the senator representing this district, that's getting close to half of my constituents live in Makakilo, and they're all relying on that one road to get in and get out. They folks there, they bought their homes 20, 30 years ago with the understanding that a second access road would come. And here we are today, still talking about it. So believe me, I understand the frustration. So a little background, this problem didn't just pop up. It was back in 1960 when the first houses were built in Lower Makakilo. And then in 1966, that's when the H1 freeway opened up between Kapolei and Makakilo. Then in 1977, that's when Kapolei was first being planned as quote unquote Oahu's second city, with the understanding that the infrastructure would grow with the community, right? And then it was in 1993 that the connection was being discussed, as Makakilo connection was being discussed and showed up in the planning materials. The plan included eventually connecting Makakilo down to the freeway. But the bottom line is it was never funded. And so it stayed what they call a quote unquote illustrative project, which basically means it's a good idea, but there's no money, there's no timeline. So that's why after more than 40 years, nothing has been built. The full project today to put in that second road that coming out is estimated at over $100 million. And so just to explain a little bit more about where things stand. So over the years, the project has been studied, environmentally reviewed, and that includes long-range plans like the Transportation for Oahu Plan, but it was never moved into an active project phase because it was never prioritized or funded. So in terms of responsibility, who's responsible? Well, it's the city and county project under the Department of Transportation Services. Now the state, though, it does play a role through legislation and resolutions that can urge prioritization, right? But ultimately, the city has to take the lead to move the project forward, especially when it comes to placing it on the Transportation Improvement Program. And that's the TIP. And so that's the step needed to unlock the federal funding. In case you were thinking that the $100 million was going to come out of local state taxpayer dollars. So right now, it's still not on that TIP, that Transportation Improvement Program. So therefore, it's not programmed for funding, which is why it has remained stalled for so long. Now, this year, there was a House bill that was introduced by Rep. Souza. It was HB 1908, and that would have transferred the project from the city to the state. It would have created a task force to help move the project forward, and it also included funding for the project. So, it was a more direct attempt to get the project moving, but the bill was deferred in the House by the House Transportation Committee. That was on February 12th when it did not move forward. But also this session, I introduced a resolution, and it's SCR 132, and SCR stands for Senate Concurrent Resolution. That means it's from the Senate and the House. And then the just Senate resolution by itself is SR 124. And so what this came from, those two resolutions, it came from the community and from colleagues who are working closely on this issue. Actually, Representative Darius Keela, he's from the West Side. He's the transportation chair in the House. He came up with the idea and he shared it with Representative Garcia from Kapolei, Diamond Garcia, who reached out to me and asked if I could help get the resolution drafted on the Senate side, which I did. So what the resolutions, what they do is it formally urges the city and county of Honolulu to stop leaving this just as an idea and start treating it like a real project. So the resolution, it asks the city to prioritize, number one, prioritize the Makakilo Drive extension. Number two, develop a clear timeline for planning, funding, design, and construction. And number three, report back to the legislature before the next session, this next year, with a real status update and a path forward. Because right now, as I've said, there's no clear timeline, no accountability, and no sense of whether this will actually move. And so the resolution is about saying, we need to stop kicking the can down the road. And we owe it to the community to at least have a clear plan and direction. And then, so while the full extension, the MDE is a longer term effort, also we've been working on something more immediate, and that is an interim emergency access route. And again, I keep thinking about Lahaina, right? So this is something that can actually help in the near term. And on the next slide, I'll share some updates on where we stand with this expected interim route. So where we are with this emergency access route is we just had a meeting this past Tuesday with the city's Department of Emergency Management, that's DEM, and also Councilmember Tupola, to push this forward to get clarity on the timelines. And the goal is, while we continue working on the long-term MDE, Makakilo Drive extension, we need something right now to help keep our community safe. And so what the interim emergency route is that step. And so the concept is to use an existing road through the Grace Pacific Quarry as a gated emergency-only exit from Makakilo down to Kualakai Parkway, by the freeway. And so the route, that emergency route would begin near Pueonani Street in Upper Makakilo, and it connecting into the existing Grace Pacific Quarry access road. And again, it's only to be used during emergencies. Excuse me. So that would be fires, major accidents, anywhere where Makakilo Drive is blocked. Anything where Makakilo Drive is blocked. So first responders would control it. They would open the gates and manage the traffic. Now, to make this happen, we need a memorandum of understanding, or an MOU, which is an agreement between all the landowners who are involved. So there are four key parties in this. Number one, D.R. Horton. They're a developer who controls one segment of the road. Number two, Department of Transportation. Number three, West Oahu. Part of the alignment runs through their land. And number four, Grace Pacific. Obviously, the Quarry Road is a main access piece. So all four of those have to sign off before this emergency road can become operational. And here's where we stand right now. D.R. Horton has done and signed it. Department of Transportation, they've signed it. The last two we're waiting for is West Oahu and Grace Pacific. And those are currently in legal review. Now, I heard last week at this meeting that the main holdup is not that there's some disagreement. It's just working through all the legal stuff that, and the process on the city side with the Department of Emergency Management and Corporation Counsel. So we're very close, but we're not quite there yet. And here's the good news. Everyone's at the table. Everyone's supportive. We're not dealing with major conflicts. And it's about getting those final two signatures across the finish line. And again, based on last week's meeting, the timeline we're looking at, the target is to get all the signatures done by the end of this month, by the end of March. And then in April, they're planning a site visit with the first responders and all the agencies. And what they want to do is to walk the route, to check all the safety issues, to figure out things like the signage, the barriers, the access. And if it all looks good, the goal is to have this operational by May. That's right, I said May of this year. So they're also working on the details that really matter during an emergency, such as who has the keys or access to the gate, how quickly it can be opened, traffic control, coordination with HPD, the fire and emergency crews. But the bottom line is this interim emergency route is not the full Makakilo Drive extension, but it can save lives while we keep pushing the long-term solution for the MDE. So as soon as all this is finalized, we'll make sure that the community knows exactly how it works and what to expect. It's not the full enchilada, but it's progress. And I want you folks to know that we're pushing every step of the way because, again, one way in, one way out. It's not enough for Makakilo. I also wanted to add, I did a Google search on Makakilo, and that actually means observing eyes in Hawaiian. And back in the old days, it was a sacred astronomical site, right? And that's where the ancient Hawaiians would go and look up at the stars but the reason I bring this up is because the people of Makakilo, the 20,000 plus people of Makakilo, they are the observing eyes on this project actually coming to fruition. So we'll keep you up to date on it. All right, next slide. As far as I wanted to give you an update on the landfill. Many of you know the Waimanalo Gulch landfill is not in Waimanalo. It's just down the road in Kapolei, right after the Ko'olina cutoff to Farrington, on Farrington Highway. And it's where most of Oahu's trash goes. And the permit there to operate is scheduled to expire in 2028. So the county needs to figure out what comes next. And so West Oahu has carried the largest share of the island's landfill burden for decades. And so it's the Waimanalo Gulch and also the PVT construction landfill site in Nanakuli. That's on 400 acres. And it's just off Lululele Naval Road, about a quarter of a mile off of Farrington Highway. And they're supposed to close in 2028 as well. So because of that, conversations about the future of waste management on Oahu is very important for our community on the west side. The city council is discussing new ideas, alternatives, including technologies that convert waste into energy or reusable materials, approaches that are already being used in other island regions around the world. And I want to just kudos to Councilmember Tupola, who's actually gone to some of these island regions around the world to see what they're doing and to learn from them. And so Councilmember Tupola has recently introduced a resolution to create a task force that would study alternatives to landfills and to look at ways that Oahu could reduce or eventually move away from landfills altogether. And again, she's doing an amazing job. So this issue is becoming more urgent as the landfill deadline approaches. We need a long-term plan that is environmentally responsible and fair to the West Oahu communities. I'll make sure that West Oahu has a voice in those decisions moving forward. Okay, and then on to the next slide, community gardens. I'll give you an update about a new community garden that's planned for West Oahu. It's the city's park and recreation department. They're moving forward with a community garden project at Asing Community Park in Ewa. That's down Renton Road, just past Fort Weaver, going into Ewa. And the project was recently selected for funding through the city's Climate Resilience Fund, which will help support the planning, design, and construction. And it's important because obviously it brings neighbors together. It supports local food production, and it creates opportunities for families in Keiki to learn about growing food. And as the chair of the Agriculture and Environment Committee for 10 years, and as all of us are well aware of the fact that we import 85 to 90% of our food, this is really cool. There are very few formal community gardens on the west side, so this is a positive step forward. In 2028, the construction is anticipated to start, so I'll continue keeping our community updated as the project moves forward. Next, Farrington Highway widening, and that's from the Kapolei Golf Course to Fort Weaver Road. Excuse me. So this is a major infrastructure project that includes roadway expansion, drainage, sidewalks, street lighting, traffic signals, and utility upgrades. The total project cost is $145 million. It started May 1st of 2025, last year, almost a year now away. And the work is being done in phases. So phase 1 is currently underway, and it's from just west of Koalakai Parkway to Old Fort Weaver Road on the Mackay side. And phase 1 is expected to continue through June of 2026. Crews are currently working on grading, drainage systems, sidewalks, and utility installation, including electrical and telecom. In January, crews discovered, by the way, a World War II ordnance during excavation. So there's a bit of a freak out there, and HPD responded. They safely removed it and resumed that same day. So since then, no additional ordnance has been found, and safety protocols remain in place. So obviously this project is going to help improve traffic flow, safety, and infrastructure for our West Oahu community. Next. And I can see Lee Cobian smiling in the background, off camera, is the Kalaeloa racetrack update. So as some longtime residents remember, the Hawaii Raceway Park in Kapolei, it operated from 1962 until it closed in 2006. And since then, Oahu has not had a formal racing venue. So the city's working on a plan to allow an interim dirt racing track on about 23 acres in Kalaeloa near Independence Road and Coral Sea Road. So this would be a temporary recreational dirt track while the city works on a long-term motorsports park as part of the broader Kalaeloa master plan. Now, the reason for the temporary facility is because the land has federal deed restrictions, and oversight from the National Park Service is tied to the transfer of the former Barbers Point Naval Air Station lands. So because of that, the city cannot build permanent racing facilities yet until an EA, an environmental assessment, is completed and the Kalaeloa master plan is updated, and until the National Park Service approves adding motorsports as a permanent use. So at the city county level, at the Department of Parks and Recreation, they're now working to hire a consultant to update the Kalaeloa master plan and complete the EA, the environmental assessment, which will include looking at motorsports recreation. So in the meantime, the National Park Service has authorized the city to move forward with an interim use on that 23-acre parcel. And since the city doesn't operate racetracks, they'll put out a solicitation to find a qualified partner to design the layout, manage operations, ensure safety requirements, and coordinate the community outreach. So this interim track would focus on dirt-based racing activities such as motocross and bikes, or a small dirt oval, right? And at the same time, I know there are some concerns from nearby residents about noise, traffic, and impacts, and these concerns will be an important part of the planning and community engagement process. So the permanent motorsports park will take several years, and because it depends on the master plan update, environmental review, and future funding. As more information becomes available, I'll be sure to keep our community informed. Next. And for you parade lovers, quick reminder, the Prince Kuhio Parade is coming up here in Kapolei. It'll be next Saturday, March 28th, starting at 5 p.m. along Kapolei Parkway. It starts near Kapolei Hale, and then it ends at the Kamakana-Li'i Shopping Center. It'll be the 4th year that it's being held in Kapolei. And then after the parade, there'll be free community celebration at Kamakana-Li'i. Entertainment, food, local vendors will be there. And so it'll be a good chance to come out and spend time with the family and enjoy the evening. Okay, so then as far as next, so mahalo nui for joining us this morning. And just a quick reminder, we're here to listen and problem solve together. No issue is too small. So at this time, I'll open it up for questions. Please try to be brief so we can hear from as many neighbors as possible. Any questions out there? Just jump right in. Susan?
Thank you. As an associate of Gifford's Gun Owners for Safety, I have been testifying recently for HB 2062, which is the gun prevention and safety, appropriates funds to the judiciary for the enforcement of gun violence protective orders, and appropriates funds to the Department of Law Enforcement to conduct public awareness campaigns on gun violence prevention orders. Also, it passed yesterday through the Public Safety and Military Affairs. It has passed through, I believe, 3 other committees, and I'm hopeful that it will be presented to the entire legislature soon. There is also another proposed bill, SB 3040, to create an Office of Gun Violence Prevention, and that's going to be coming before the Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs committees. And I would ask for your support for gun prevention safety.
Susan, is that HB 3040 or Senate bill?
Senate bill. I'm sorry, Senate Bill 3040. I apologize.
Okay.
Senate Bill
That's
3040.
fine. Okay, that's going to be, yeah.
Yes. I am a gun owner. I am also the mother of a school shooting survivor. I am also I had a student in my 8th grade classroom with a gun, and I am a domestic violence survivor. And so gun safety is important to me. It is something that I would hope that my grandchildren would not have to do gun safety drills at school. I would hope that they would not be in the same situation. I know that gun safety is important to many of us, and many of us have been impacted by gun violence. And so I would ask for your continued support in this legislation.
Thank you, Susan. And we'll definitely take a look at those. And just for everyone, we are, in terms of the process, we're just in the midst of what's called first crossover, where all the bills that the House heard in their committees will be coming. We're already doing the hearings now, and all the Senate bills went over to the House. And so, yes, so we'll definitely keep an eye on that. And if I have any questions on this, I'll get back to you, Susan. Thank you for.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I want to just say to everybody that this is exactly, and this Susan's a good example, that this is what we do there. You know, we have all these thousands of bills that we deal with. And as the elected senator from the district, I want to hear from you folks, where your positions on it, and anything, either by email or at our community meetings, because it helps us in our deliberations as we're talking amongst each other in the hearings and outside of the hearings, talking story about, hey, what do you think of this? And oh yeah, you know, I got problems with this issue. Hey, what do you think about this amendment, right? But this is all really a part of what a representative democracy is all about, getting involved in the process. So thanks again, Susan. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Questions? Okay. All right, so I'll go ahead and it's good to see you all online today. If we didn't get to your concern, please don't hesitate to follow up with my office. And if you haven't already, if you haven't checked out the legislature's website at capital.hawaii.gov, that's capital with an O, please check it out. We've heard so many positive feedback from folks because you can look up, you can punch in a bill number like the ones that Susan just mentioned. Then you can see the hearing, you can see the where committees heard it, what the testimony was from everybody, how many supported it, how many were opposed. Good, yeah, Susan, because you really you get involved and you become a part of that process. And it just, yeah. So anyway, I can't recommend that enough to get it, check that out, the website. So my next Listen Story community meeting will be in person at Kapolei High School, weather permitting, the teacher lounge there. And that's going to be on Saturday, May 16th from 9 to 10. And what happens, we do this every year because April is a crazy, literally crazy month at the Capitol where we are going through conference committees where once the bills cross, they recross, and then you get together with the House and the Senate and try to figure out the final measure before it's voted on by each chamber. But extremely busy during April, so that's why we don't have a meeting then. But in May, I'll give the final wrap up of the session. You know, what passed, what didn't, and you know what it means for our community. So with that, mahalo again for being here and for staying engaged. And so don't sign off yet because this, but I do want to say this meeting is now officially ended. And I did check with the ethics committee, the ethics group at the Capitol, and they said it was okay for me to do the following as long as it was after my community meeting was over. And so here's what I'm going to present to you. I am running for re-election, and I need 15 signatures from folks in the district to run for Senate this year. And since we're online today, if you're willing to sign this piece of paper for me, you can email me at my personal email, mike@mikegabbard.com. And I'm happy to swing by your home or meet you at some place at the shopping center, wherever you decide to get your signature. And by the way, no pressure at all. And this does not, I repeat, it does not obligate you to vote for me. It's just a requirement by the Office of Elections that each candidate has to have 15 signatures of registered voters in the district. So again, if you're interested, let me know by email. Thank you guys for tuning in. Okay. And then we'll see you in April. And again, any way I can help you, contact the office. Mahalo and aloha. Have a great day.